show is called A 24-Decade History of Popular Music. There's over 230 songs, not necessarily American music, but music that was popular here from 1776 to 2016. In 2016, we're doing a 24-hour concert of the entire thing nonstop.
It's a 24-hour concert that we're heading towards, but we're doing it in 3-hour acts, and within the acts we have little hour sets of music that are decades at a time.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's most unique about this piece is that it's really a performance art concert. So the audience's engagement with it is absolutely important to its shifting and growing and coming into what it needs to be.
1936, 1946, usually the whole audience can go to the bathroom throughout the entire show. They can leave the space, but in this one we actually stop them from being able to leave because we're dealing with Japanese internments and these Mexican Americans that were put in prison unjustly and stuff. So while World War II is happening, all this was going on in Hollywood. 15 years old, 14 years old, I went to the first or second AIDS walk that was in San Francisco. And I had never met an out homosexual before. It was a pretty profound experience for a little kid that grew up in suburbia in a pretty normative, slightly oppressive environment. It was discovering queer history, queer agency, queer community because it was deteriorating from this epidemic.
Girls were girls and boys were boys when I was a tot. Now we don't know who is who or even what's what.
So I wanted to make a show about it. So this is what the show is. It's a metaphorical representation of that experience from a 15-year-old kid's perspective. 1976 to 86, in the clubs, there were always these back rooms that would happen, and so people would be flirting and having sex and while you're performing, and so I wanted to kind of recreate that experience. So we're creating a back room, and then just open it up for if anyone wants to go back there, they can, and we'll pass out lube and condoms. One of the things about queer community is that we tend to be pretty sex positive, and so it's a whole decade of just celebrating this rather than having it be this dark, evil, awful thing that society tells you should be ashamed of. So we go through all this hard stuff with Stonewall, and then we get to celebrate, and there is tragedy after celebration, so then we have our AIDS decade.
Really some of the hardest stuff has been finding the right songs for specific moments in the show that is really going to tell the story the way that we want to tell the story of that particular act or that particular hour. What the audience might need to be doing at any given point, what they might be feeling, trying to anticipate those things.
The entire piece is asking us to be present, and we deal with that in the ways that we can. And there's this wonderful rendition of Snakeskin Cowboy where we're asked to dance with one another.
Taylor had the idea that the audience would dance with each other, but as same-sex couples. So everywhere we're going, we're making men dance with men and women.
In Toronto one time, we could not, they wouldn't do it. And then just down in Charleston, again, it was the same thing. But then that becomes the art of it, is that they won't dance with someone of their same sex and take it seriously. They have to make fun of it in some way. Classical song is kind of like reaching for the hem of God. You're reaching for perfection, but a popular song is about reaching the people, and it uses its imperfection in order to do that. The idea was to try to figure out how we reach these people that are going through a dire circumstance with us over a 24-hour period. As a result of going through this kind of complicated experience, we're also building bonds between everyone that experiences it.
It doesn't have to be perfect. The whole point is to expose the process to the audience and each other and grow as we get going.
We are creating it in front of the audience every single night, not in small ways, but in real giant ways.